wasn't raining yet when you came in, was it? It certainly smelled like rain when I popped out for but a moment. But the heavens have not opened up yet, so you say? Pity. Well, they might still yet. Hello there. Welcome to my establishment. What is it that I can help you with? Wait just a moment. Perhaps you are looking for some ribbon or trim. I stock the mattest of blacks. Gorgeous for any occasion, not just morning. Not just morning. Gorgeous. Very sturdy. And I have all sorts of colors, even something as luminous as gold. Wasn't something you were looking for? Well, perhaps repair, maybe. I'm quite a deft hand with fabric, but I certainly can tend to some leather as well. I can wiggle around and all, just like the best of them, but let me see. Oh, that wasn't what you were looking for. Well, been meaning to try out this beautiful new specimen, but apparently it will not be with you then. Well, instead, what is it that I can help you with? I see. A wardrobe. That's absolutely wonderful, and I can certainly do that for you. Would you mind if I take a look at you? Yes, I just want to get a feel for how the clothing sits on you, and you see that cuff. Oh my. You are not incorrect by any means. That does look a little frayed at the edges. And what is this? That's a rather ragged hole. Well, I am quite quick about manufacturing my garments, but for a standard wardrobe, it will be at least 2 to 3 weeks. I perhaps can rush a bit, but even still, that'll be at least a week. Let me take a look. How is it that you did this? Oh, yes, that'll do it. And what about the bottom half? The seam here, that's quite weak. I'm also seeing quite a few little loose threads. Now, I would feel quite poorly if I were to let you walk out with this sort of disarray. Now, the holes I actually could take care of for you. It'll take a little bit of time, but really quick, I could just snip off some of the little threads. Won't take but a moment. Wonderful. So let me see those The garment itself looks to be of certainly adequate construction. It's just more wear and tear. And have you repaired this before then? Let me see the other one. A bit. Yes, those holes seem to be a little bit above the caliber of the home repair. Let me see, there's one right along the seam here. I could just get that right up by the seam. There. And then along the buttons here. Those little threads always seem to come out first, don't they? Yes. There we go. All the way down. Let me see the sides here. Good. And one here. I think that will quite do it. Now, let me see. I think if I were to take a peek, let's see. What kind of needle might I need for this particular fabric? Let's see. Maybe. That will certainly do it. That to the side. And we can move on to your measurements then. Then we can tackle those little bits at the end. Does that sound agreeable to you? Wonderful. So we will start with the measurements and then we will converse a bit about colors, fabrics, style, fit, that sort of thing. So, firstly, I would like to procure your chest circumference around the chest at the widest part. Now, moving forward, I will need to be touching you for this. Do I have your permission for that? Wonderful. Let me just get a bit of slack. And then I am going to wrap this around. Good. If I could just there, overlap that in the middle. Good. To wrap this up just a smidgen so that we can keep this neat and I won't accidentally pour the excess onto you. Get right about there. That should be enough for the moment. Now let us see here. Do you hear the thunder? We might get some rain yet. Now, this pen demands a sacrifice, which usually I just lick the tip of it, but in polite company, circumference. Let me see. So this can be a bit of a vulnerable area for some, though I am quite gentle and quite expedient about measuring this particular area. So if I could just have this. Now, if I hold it like so, with my finger between the tape and your neck, is that comfortable? Very good. That's certainly adequate. Let me see. Wonderful. And might need a bit of slack. No, I believe we will be just fine. I am going to be measuring the width of the shoulders. Let me just get this lined up. Wonderful. Excellent. Maybe just a bit more. There we go. I'd rather be a touch over than under. So we can always cut down on fabric. We cannot make more of it. Shoulder width. Wonderful. And now for the arm lengths. If I could have your arm, please. Take it from the top here. There. Good. Let's see if that is quite comparable to the other side. Wonderful. It certainly is. We have excellent. And I will have you hold up your arms, and I am going to feed my tape through so that I can get the circumference of your upper arm. So if I could just wrap this around, and if you could lay this arm back down, just allow it to relax. Let me match this up just like that. There. Excellent. And I'm going to pull that back out and measure the other side. Was this the only errand you had planned today? Or did you have anything else? Perhaps it may get compromised by the rain shower. Perhaps not. This is all you wish to handle of town. I am certainly in agreement with you there. Wonderful. Let's just neaten this back up. Well, I am quite pleased that you braved the weather to frequent my establishment here. There, so we had And should you be pleased with my quality of work, and I certainly hope that you are, I will keep these measurements with me so that if you need anything else, that you wouldn't have to sit through another fitting unless it would make you more comfortable. And if I could have your wrist, there, wrap that around just a bit below that bone there. Good, good. And also I do offer a complimentary service for my clients that if they would like a copy of their measurements, if they would prefer to go somewhere else, or perhaps I do not have exactly what they're looking for, that I will transcribe and mail out all of your measurements so that you wouldn't have to do that for another seamstress or what have you. Let's see, wrist. Excellent. And then for just a moment, I will have you turn around so that I can measure your back. Wonderful. And if you could just stay right there. Let me see. I'm going to feed this up a bit. So this would be, and we will have right at that. Wonderful. Wonderful. And you can turn back around. Now, I believe that you will likely be the last customer of the day, which is certainly fine by me. Quite agreeable. I find these days are wonderful to sit in front of the house, nice book, cup of tea or two, and just listen to the little bird songs mixed with the claps of thunder and the slight pattering of rain. It's certainly a beautiful, beautiful backdrop. And now I will have you lift up your arms once more, and I am going to measure around the abdominal area. So let me just I always get quite a bit of slack for this one, just because there is a bit of finagling. So I'm going to come up and around and be very careful here. Good, and then I could just... So I am going to have you relax as best as you can. So if you could take a deep breath in. Wonderful, and out. I want to take both measurements. And if you could take the deepest breath into your abdomen and let it all go. There. So I need to get a good middle ground between your deepest inspiration and your most thorough expiration. There. So let me just take this up and wind it up. We certainly don't want you to feel overly constricted should you take a deep breath, but we also don't want it to be so incredibly loose either. We want a good blend of the two. Now we're going to be working in this area quite a bit, so I won't wrap this all the way. Just enough to get a bit better handling. Let me see. Yeah, right there. Excellent. Now I will group two measurements together. We will measure the natural waist and the widest part of the hip. So I'm going to just come through here and right in here. So again, if I could have you take a deep inhale and exhale. Excellent. That doesn't change very much, which is good. And then for the hip here, this one should not as well, but it is certainly more advantageous to be thorough. If I could have you take a deep breath in and all the way out. Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm just going to grab that from behind. Just wrap this as our next measurements will focus on the leg. That should be enough. And we have our waistline as well as our hip circumference. Wonderful. Now, inside of the leg, this might be a touch intimate, but where I am going to start is right here. And this is for any sort of trouser generally. But this is where I need this to start, if that is fine with you. Wonderful. And I'm going to come down, 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 and down. Wonderful. And the other side, generally these are identical, but some people have one leg that's a touch longer than the other. And it wouldn't quite do to have a trouser that looks quite sharp on one leg, but rather badly tailored on the other. Now that will be the most intimate of our measurements. And we have the circumference of the thigh, so I will not need nearly so much slack. And then we're just going to come around here. And at the widest part here, just going to hold that. So if you could flex the thigh and relax it. flex and relax. Wonderful. Just like with the abdomen, I want to make sure that while perhaps any sort of material may feel snug, while standing, that it doesn't burst at the seams when sitting. That would be quite the travesty. And the other side. I can have right there. Now if I can have you flex the leg, release, flex, release. Wonderful. We have the thigh circumference. On both legs. And our very last measurement is the length of the leg. Need a bit more here. And that should certainly do it. So we are going to take this from the bottom to the top on the most lateral part of the leg. Wonderful. Good. And on the other side. There. There we are. Good. Wonderful. So I am going to wrap this up for the evening and put it away. I think perhaps it hasn't so much started raining much as it is just grumbling, but even still that will keep away most. Do you have any plans to enjoy this weather? Yes, a few chores. I must take my laundry down from the line, of course. I generally forget, so I end up with much wetter garments than I had originally put up. But it all eventually dries out. It just takes a little bit longer. There. Wonderful. Now, I have some questions and I have some observations to conduct with you. So we must decide what type of fit we want in certain areas of the body. And some of these will be by my experience and my observation. Some of these will be how you prefer things to fit. For example, I will be looking at your shoulders. Are they quite high? Are they very low? Or are they more of a normal set, for example? Well, let me take a look at the shoulder. And do you feel that your shoulders normally sit at this level? They do indeed. Wonderful. So let me just jot that down. And in terms of the chest, for example, do we have a more concave? Is it more convex? Or is it quite flat? I'm just going to take a look at you from this side and from the other side. I see. Very good. at the abdomen as well. We want the garment to contour to the body. We do not want it to look any sort of awry or hang awkwardly on the frame. Right. Let me write that down. And as for the back, some have quite a ramrod straight back. Some have a touch of a curve, I suppose. I would call it a bit more relaxed. And some have an overly curved spine. So let me see. Let me look at your spine and the curve of your back. And I would say that's quite normal. Wonderful. Now let's discuss a little bit about how it is that you like your attire to fit. So I have 3 different options. Firstly, we have our more comfortable option. Things tend to be a touch looser, have a little bit more room. We do have the regular option in which I fit everything to your measurements. There's not a little more give, there's not a little more take. And lastly, some do like things to be a little more slim to the body. They like things to be a little more snug. So that is also an option as well. Do you have a preference? If you don't, then I generally would go with the normal sizing. Excellent. Let me just write that down. Wonderful. And as for colors, now I think this year colors tend to be more on the warmer side, is what seems to be the preference, but some people do prefer a cool tone. Some people like more of a pastel, more of a jewel tone, monochromatic, more in the black, white scheme, the grayscale. Are there any certain colors that stand out for you? Well, let me take a look as for my opinion. So, our lighting here, daylight tends to be the most natural. The candlelight gives the body quite a warm cast to it. So it is better that we do this by daylight. But I think, do you mind if I see your wrists? Now, sometimes you can catch the color of the skin by the veins. Some people tend to go a little more purple, some blue, and some, like myself, tend to have that more Mediterranean complexion with the green veins. You mind if I see yours? Just taking a peek. I see. Yes, I dare say. So, generally it is with a warm undertone that we have more of your warmer colors, and for example, gold, would work quite well for that. But those with the more cool undertones, that's more your silver and your cool toned colors. And neutral can do either. They really can do any color. So I think, well, perhaps for you, I'm quite partial to a jewel tone myself. The rich ruby reds and the vibrant golds and the emeralds, the sapphires, the deep, deep colors. So I think with your complexion, with the sort of attire that you have, that might be something that would look quite fetching. Wonderful. So that gives me quite a bit to work with. And last question. What kind of pieces is it that you wanted in particular for your wardrobe? I see. Mm-hmm. 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 Absolutely. No, I certainly can fulfill that order. Well, I believe that is all I need from you unless there are any special instructions you wish to give me. Anything in particular? Well then, let's take a look at that hole of yours there. So get a little bit of thread and let me see. So right in here, I'm going to lay this flat and then just going to rather quickly just seal this closed. Nothing particularly fancy, but just something that it will not look so ragged while you're waiting on your new garments. And then I'm just going to pull that. Good. Snip. Let me get another length. And there was one right in the trouser here. Yeah. And this, again, just from age. I suspect it as such. This is a common place for things to wear. There we are. As quick as I'm working here, I'm surprised I haven't. Should have worn the thimble. Oh well. There. Are there any other holes that you would like? Oh, there's one right there. Let me just take care of this thread. And we'll get that one and send you on your way. I'll make sure that color thread is not visible. I know it does not go with your garment's color, but it shouldn't. It shouldn't show. Besides, I imagine you will tuck this back in. It's low enough on the top. Just pull that. Good. Now I will put these back. And that will conclude our appointment. Is there absolutely anything else I can do for you? Wonderful. I'd like to thank you so much for frequenting my establishment here. I hope you have a whale of a day and a good rest of your night. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, it would greatly help me out if you clicked the like button and left a comment so YouTube's algorithm registers that it was a good video. If you want to see more of my work, consider subscribing to the channel. I create primarily medical, pseudoscience / alternative medicine, and personal attention ASMR roleplays.